Coming to you live from our respective houses, you are listening to Imaginary Friends, the podcast. Bum, ba, ba, da.
Brought to you by your hosts, Bree Smith, and your co-host, Erin Wainwright.
Yay!
Do you like camping or D&D? How about making more Disney? Won't be bored, we can guarantee. At Imaginary Friends.
Hi everyone! Welcome to this week's episode of Imaginary Friends, the podcast. Do you know what I forgot to mention last podcast, Bree?
What did you forget to mention?
Well, it was our 20th episode last
That
podcast.
was our 20th episode, yep. Yup.
This is our 21st episode. So now we can drink if we went to the States.
But we've been able to drink for a long time here
We're
in Alberta.
Canadian.
Exactly. Especially Albertans, 18. Woo!
Yep. We have a great episode for you this week. We are going to discuss the books that we read for our last Imaginary Friends, the book club, and we'll actually be talking about a little change in format that we'll be having for Imaginary Friends, the book club.
It's true.
Yeah, we're going to do a little D&D update and talk about all of our same things from our usual segments, and we've got some good stuff for you. So here we go with a little D&D update.
So we did not play.
We absolutely did not. But
No. So our D&D update is that there is no D&D update. However, this week I am starting the first session of my new campaign. So I'm actually really excited. I've been brainstorming and talking to Erin and getting everybody's backstories and all that stuff to try and make a really good game. So I'm very, very excited.
I'm super excited. My character, my little gnome Devi, we decided yesterday that she is from a family with 11 kids in it, so including her.
Yeah.
So excited.
And we actually named all of them and gave them all like personalities and backstory. It was pretty stupid.
So dumb because I don't know how many sessions we'll actually play with them being involved, but probably just one. But that's okay.
It was fun though. It was fun
Yeah.
coming up with all of them. My favorite though is that because of the random name generator, the littlest sibling is named Lamb Jam.
Lamb Jam. Yep. The accident gnome.
Whoops, we're pregnant again. I don't know. Call this one Lamb Jam.
I'm in my jammies and I had lamb for dinner.
Exactly.
Perfect. I'm super excited to play this campaign. I'm really excited. Our old one, the We're Not Evil campaign, is just on a hiatus for now, but that's okay. We're gonna start this new one and it's going to be fantastic. And we'll make sure to update all you guys every week on what's happening.
Whether you like it or not.
That's right. You can skip it if you want, but you're gonna get it. It's gonna be part of our podcast forever.
Until Erin gets tired of me and then she's like, I hate you, and then she leaves.
Oh, so it is gonna last forever.
I'd like to think so.
Boom, gotcha. All right, you ready? It's time for the main event.
In this corner, we have a 800-page book by I can't even do it.
Patrick Rothfuss.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, it was a very large book. So yes, for my book that Brie lent me, I am reading or read The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. And I would say that it was a pretty decent book. It was good. It was full of details. And like I said in my halfway point, it's like a long, meandering story that somebody tells you. Like imagine maybe you're in a D&D game and there's a bard and the bard is telling you a story about, the life of someone else. That's exactly how it would be. There'd be songs in it. It would take hours. You would drink your mead for hours listening to this tale, right? That's how they got entertainment. That's what this book is entirely. It's just like that. Yeah, and I made it through it. And the funny thing is, because it's a story within a story, nothing's actually changed that much in the top story, but the story within a story got along a little bit. Like, he's getting along. I'm a little bit torn between, like, do I want to read the next book or not? Do I just leave it and have a lot of unanswered questions, or do I go through more 800 pages, and how far will I get even in the second book?
The second book, what's nice is that he leaves the academy, so things actually
Oh.
occur in the second book. So there is a little bit more stuff in there, but I have no idea when we're ever going to get the third book from the series. So uh,
Hmm.
you might be better off just to leave it. However, I do recommend reading the short. I use air quotation on the word short story that he wrote about. Oh, I just forgot her name. The little girl character that lives underground.
Oh, right. Era, something like that.
Yeah. So that his little like novella about her is amazing. I actually think it's better than Name of the Wind.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. It is
Oh,
because it's completely surrounding her character, and it's her just kind of living a day in her life, and just this little girl living underground, and how she kind of sees her world and the way that she kind of interacts with her world, and it's super fascinating.
interesting. I like her character actually. I was like, what does this have to do with anything? It just seemed really
Yeah.
random.
She's comes back in the second book as well, but yeah, I definitely recommend her little novella. It's
Okay.
pretty amazing.
Oh,
So
well, maybe I'll read that one then. Yeah,
Scott,
you know what? I am running out of books to read, so maybe I'll read the next one for sure. I did like his take on magic, like the whole sympathy. Basically, it's like not actually magic. To them, magic is like a joke too, like us, like magic. Pff, what is that?
yeah.
It's almost like a science. It's science. So they've
Mhm,
made magic into science. And I kind of like that. So it's like you go to this academy and you learn this sympathy, which we would think is magic, but they're like, it's more like science than
mhm.
anything.
Yeah,
I thought that was really cool. I did think that the main character was a little bit like he's so good at everything. It was like
yeah.
too much
It,
almost.
that bothers me quite a bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everything he did, he was fantastic at it. And he always had everyone else figured out all the time. And
Mhm.
I don't know, it was like a little much for me. Like, why is he so good at everything? Yeah, otherwise, like, I really liked it. I thought it was pretty good. Yeah, it wasn't bad. I didn't mind reading it.
Nice.
Yeah.
The his little novella is called The Slow Regard of Silent Things, and I highly recommend that. I did it as an audiobook. I still think that it's almost a better story because it's just this short-ish little kind of tale about this little girl who lives underground. So
Yeah. No, I totally want to read that. That's super interesting, actually. So tell us all about Tailchaser's song, what you thought of that one.
yeah, so I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if I was a big fan of that book at the end of
Was it
it.
the second
So
half of it?
yeah, the second half takes a turn, and I would 100% say for the worst. So so again, when we last talked about it, I was reading this book about, this cat doing cat things, and the thing I kind of liked about it was the fact that he was just a cat, and like the mythology and the way that he spoke was very cat-like, and so you have this kind of idea that this book is going to be just about like, what do cats get up to when they think they're on an adventure kind of a thing. And then part 2 happened, and first of all, I think it meandered quite a bit, and then all of a sudden it was like myth and magic, and I'm just like, "What is going on?" The context changed, the like I just remember reading it and being like, "I don't even know if I know what's going on."
Like when they're underground and he's
Yeah,
like trapped
yeah.
under there and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then they start talking about this thing called, like, os or something like that, and I'm like, Where has this been for the last, like, 3 or not 300 pages, but the last 100 pages?" I'm like, "They never
Hmm.
talked about it, there was no reference to it, there was no reference that this was like, the mythology that they kept talking about was, like, even in the remotest way real." because you don't see it, and then all of a sudden the second half happens, and it's like bam, they put you into this world where like the cat gods are legitimate things, and there's like weird magic around it, and these like mutant creatures, and I'm just like, what am I reading?
I think I've read that book probably 6 or 7 times, right?
Yeah.
So the idea is that he, I think it's supposed to be like a reflection of us kind of in a way,
Mm.
but he meets, what's the dirty cat's name who ends up being like the good cat god?
Bug eater.
Bug eater,
Eat
that's
bugs.
right.
Eat bugs. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So he meets him. So and then there's like hints at stuff, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, it's like not it. But then it's that idea that underneath what you believe is true, there's actually something else that's old,
Yeah.
and it almost comes to the surface, and it's going to change everything. But they defeat it. But at the end of the book, they're like, I guess where everything was underground, it's like caved in, and he looks
Yeah.
at it and he realizes like nobody even knows what I did. Nobody even knows that I saved the world. You know
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
mean?
Well,
Right?
but I just find that from a narrative point of view, it almost, again, it felt like two books. It felt like they were giving me like pseudo Watership Down, and then all of a sudden it turned into Secret of Nim, and I'm like, wait a minute, what happened?
It's true. It's
Yeah.
totally true.
Yeah.
Yeah. That the when he goes underground, that's when it starts to get super weird. But I
Yeah.
think I think that's the thing, is that something was wrong. Everyone knows that all the cats know something's wrong,
Yeah.
right? And he's trying to he's not even looking for what's wrong, but he discovers it by seeing like the weird mutant cats. It's all leaking
Yeah.
out. So this bad, evil cat god guy is like ready to like go and take over. He's been building an army, but everyone senses something's wrong, but they don't know what it is. So
Yeah.
then he's going from that, oh, I think something might be wrong, to being like, holy shit, it's right in front of my face.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
but it's interesting because when I was kind of, as I was reading it, my thinking around it, because it kept talking about like man and uh cats being coddled, and like that hunter nature being taken away from man and stuff. And so I'm like, oh, it's going to be where the twist or the turn is that these creatures that's been chasing them is actually something like machinery or something that they don't recognize, because it's a from
That would have
man.
been
So again,
good.
yeah, so I was just like, okay, this is kind of, I was like, I'm like trying to figure it out, and then all of a sudden it's like bam, no, mutant cats and like cat lizards, and I'm like, what is happening?
There are cat lizards. I know, right?
I'm
That's
just
so
like, because like even just reading the descriptions, I was like, I don't understand at all what is happening. Uh,
yeah.
and
It
and
took
again,
me a few reads,
yeah,
but that's the thing. Like, I would read it again, and then I'd be like, oh, "Okay," you know what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah, I did. I don't know. And also, I was 16 when I read it. And didn't you say that this was like Tad Williams'
yeah.
like debut novel kind of thing?
Yeah, I think so,
Yeah,
or one of his early novels, yeah.
yeah.
And but yeah, and it's interesting because my husband actually really likes Ted Williams, and I've been talking to him about it, but he's never read this book, and I'm like, "Do you want to read it?" He's like, "No, I don't think so." He's like, "It sounds pretty strange." I'm like, "It is. It's very, very strange." Because I actually found that book is actually three different chunks. So it's like cats doing cat things, having a little cat adventure, weird gods and monsters, and then it goes back to like cat having a cat adventure, and you're just like, the tone shift is so drastic.
I I know, but I don't know, maybe it's because I read it when I was a teenager and I've had it
Yeah,
for so long. But I kind of get it. Like if that was a thing, let's say that it's all real, right? And
yeah,
then Tailchaser is just like this cat who eats his food and he's got his friend and he's like whatever. And then he goes up to find his friend. That's the purpose of his quest in the
yeah,
first place. His friend
yeah.
is missing and he's like, where is she? Right? And he goes through hell. He
Hmm.
literally goes through hell and discovers the cat savior, brings him back from being crazy, and does all this stuff. And then at the end, he's like, I still need to find my friend, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I mean?
Like that, he's
So,
like, that was a good distraction. Okay, let's go back to the mission, right?
but
But
he's
even
changed
yeah.
after,
Oh,
right?
for sure, for sure. But I
Yeah.
guess I guess because the tonal difference of like, if he had just gone through again, like, being attacked by wolves or again dealing with man's machines, I think it would still be the same journey, and it would be tonally more what the first half of the book was about.
Yeah, I gotta say, it's true.
Yeah.
It's hard, right? It's like It's like making you suspend your disbelief about like cats, and you can do that a little bit.
Yeah.
But then it's like, but wait. Now
Yeah.
I want you to believe in crazy cat lizards and
Yeah,
stuff.
you're like, "What is happening?" The other thing I actually found a little bit disappointing with, Tailchaser's song is that, right away from the get-go, they do state that Tailchaser is like a special cat. He has the star patch on his forehead, and he has kind of this instinct or intuition that kind of leads him in certain places. And then as when he gets captured by said underground cat lizard undead cat cult or whatever it is, um, they're just like he's the one who smells different. So the entire book they lead you by the nose, being like, Tail Chaser is like he's gonna be something important, and he has like this inner power that's gonna be great. And all he does is like pray, and then he saves the day. And I'm like, that's not anything. Like to me, Pounce Quick, his little sidekick,
Hmm.
feels like he had more connection with like the spirits and the stuff that I think they were trying, or that you would expect Tail Chaser to have, but it never really it doesn't come to any kind of fruition. And so
Yeah.
when after all of that's done, you're like, I don't understand what the point of making him come like, uh narratively making it sound like he was supposed to be this big, almost like, you know, uh messiah type cat who's going to have all these special connections and special powers, and really none of that happens.
No, it's true. Really, like, I guess he's only special in the way that he helps eat bugs, right?
Yeah.
Um, remember himself,
Yeah, and
right?
that's just
Like,
because he prayed.
but something else happened, doesn't it? I thought something
No,
happened.
not really.
Oh, I don't know. It's
Because
so
he's just,
weird. I have to
yeah,
read it again maybe.
yeah,
But yeah, he feels it too at the end. Like he has that feeling of like I thought I was so important, but in
yeah.
the scheme of things I'm not, right?
Yeah,
You know.
exactly.
I don't
Well,
know.
I think that's one of my favorite things is almost in like the last little bit of the book where he meets the frog. So he meets a toad who basically is just like, all of this stuff happened, but let me make it easier on you. You at the end of the day, you mean nothing. And he's like taken aback by it, and she's like, and then she basically describes life and the existence of life as like this big massive thing that lasts, eons, and then how small this little encounter that he had is just a blip, and that nobody will even really know what he did because it's all buried and gone. And then he's just like, yeah, you're right, I'm gonna go find my girlfriend.
Man, I took like a lot from that. I'm not gonna lie. Like when I
Yeah,
read that part, because I went through, this journey with him and it as bizarre as it was like really challenging and scary for him and
yeah,
and all these things happened and he feels like at the end he's like there should be more. I've done all
yeah,
this stuff. Like all this happened. There should be more. And she's like, no, but totally that was like a huge thing for me when I
yeah,
read that because I was like, that's absolutely true. And being okay with that is like so freeing and awesome.
yeah,
Like, yeah, I get that. It's true, because he does feel that way. He's like, I should be people should write songs about me. People should know what I did. Like
yeah.
I it wouldn't have happened without me. And she's like, meh.
And maybe that's a difference between when in your life you read it, because I'll be 40 in a couple months. I've already lived half my life. I already understand the concept of mortality and the fact that I am just a small thing in a big universe. So I was just like, yeah, deal with it.
Yeah, that's true, right? And who knows? And I don't know
Yeah,
how old Tad Williams was when he wrote that, but
yeah, I
maybe
don't know.
that was like something big for him too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I think this is it almost like I think this would be a really good kind of companion along the lines of like The Hobbit for people, for kids in high school to kind of read, because it does talk about how you can go on these journeys, you can do things that seem like they're really big and important, but at the end of the day, that to a lot of people that is a blip in history. And instead of taking it to mean, man, I mean nothing. It's to take it to mean that, like, no, it just all the time just keeps moving on. And how you
Mhm.
deal with that time is up to you, kind of a thing.
Exactly. And then he's like, I'm gonna go find my friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Soft Paw? Is that it?
Uh no.
What's her name?
Hushpad.
Hush pad,
Yeah,
as close.
yeah. And then of course he's like, nah, I like the other Fila better.
Does he?
Yeah,
Does he
oh
go?
yeah. Yeah, he
Did he go
totally
find her? Oh, that's right. She
yeah.
was like spoiled rotten kind of thing.
Yeah, because she was a house cat, right? So she had been obviously she had been spayed. She was like, just enjoyed the comforts of living in the house, or right. So he came up and was like, "Nah, I don't like this," and then he bails.
Yeah. Because he was
Spoiler.
like that at the beginning of the book,
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
yeah,
so how different
exactly.
he was.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I remember. It is this the cave stuff is weird. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty strange. But I kind of liked it for its weirdness. I don't know. I thought it was kind of like creepy and like fun to imagine. And also like how horrible being dragged underground and they had
Oh
to
yeah,
dig and
yeah,
stuff. Yeah, by
yeah.
these scary cats.
I just wish it didn't feel as disjointed as it did, because when it because even in the moment where they're doing this journey through Ratfield or something like that, and they're like, here's the waterfall and we're all just kind of journeying, and then all of a sudden like these monsters attack, they're underground, and I'm like, what happened? And I was like, did I miss something? Like
I
yeah,
did like the part where he met the queen of cats,
yeah, yeah, I thought that was
right?
great. Yeah,
And I think he got a sense that cats were like way too soft at that point, if I'm
yeah.
remembering it right.
Well,
Yeah,
it's the
right?
idea of it's the difference between where he kind of lived, which is like way more of the feral cat, farm cat kind of thing. And then when he goes to first home, these are cats that are, they live in a community that's a little bit more pampered. And so they're a little bit lazier. They're not quite as involved in like, the hunting community. And so when uh first walkers come, and they're just like these big hunter cats and hunter toms and stuff like that, and they're just like, oh man, yeah, you don't belong here.
And the queen doesn't hunt. That's right. I remember
Yeah,
that was like shocking. I
yeah.
remember that.
I have to say that I don't know why, but every single time she spoke, Angelica Houston's voice was in my head, like straight up, like so I'm like, if this is ever an animated feature, Angelica Houston has to do the voice of the queen.
It would make a pretty good weird movie, I think.
Yeah,
Hey?
yeah.
Yeah, it would. Well, that was good. That's good conversation about it though. And it made me remember a lot about it.
Yeah.
Kind of want to read it again.
I kind of felt that because I finished it and I'm like, I'm gonna have to tell Erin I wasn't a big fan.
That's okay. That's the whole point of like, you don't
Yeah,
have to like books that I lend you for sure.
yeah,
But sometimes reading books that you don't like is good because then you're like, I didn't like it because of this and because of this. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
I don't know. I sometimes like after I'm done a book and I'm like,
Just needed to change that middle part and it would have been great.
yeah, it is kind of weird. You know, it's so funny. You get used to things. You don't think about how strange they are. Like
Yeah.
I've had that book since I was like 15-ish. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, well, yeah, of course there's cat monsters in the middle of it.
Whereas I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah, it's good to get another
Yeah.
perspective on it, hey? So I'm going to let everyone know that while we're in quarantine, we probably won't be doing any more book club stuff because it's a little hard for us to find time to read the books. Bree
Mhm.
used to have like a 3-hour commute every day, and that's when she did her reading. She doesn't have that anymore, so it gets a little difficult to find time. And same for me, like finishing this book was kind of difficult. So what we're going to do instead is Imaginary Friends the movie club or movie night. One of those names. We haven't decided yet. Bree and
Like
I are
movie
going to
night.
choose a movie night. And I think we'll take turns picking it, right? And then we're going to watch it together on Netflix and then we'll discuss it
Hmm.
once a month-ish, something like
Probably, yeah.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to do, yeah, I think Imaginary Friends movie night, maybe.
Yeah. I dig it.
Yeah. Ah, I
I
do.
uh I promise not to make every movie like a scary horror movie.
Oh my God. I hate movies that are scary.
So our first movie, which we may or may not have just decided, is going to be the 1990 uh, feature film Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. Pizza.
Exactly. So this movie is one of the few movies that I remember going to when I was young with my brothers. It was completely sold out. We actually had to stand in the aisle to watch it because they oversold the tickets. The other thing about it, fun fact, is that Jim Henson Studios, made the suits for the turtles.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I went to see that movie by myself when I lived on an army base. They had a movie theater on the army base. It's huge. It was like a big town. And I just rode my bike and they were giving away free pizza. So you could go in and get a piece of pizza. And I went and watched the movie and I had a huge drink and I almost peed my pants going home. I remember that. I remember that so much. But yeah, it was great. I think I went the next night too because I loved it so much. I wanted to see it again.
Nice. It is an
Yeah,
awesome movie.
yeah, it's so good. Oh, I'm excited. So I guess we'll watch it over the next 4 weeks
Mhm.
at some point, and then we'll do a review on it. And yeah, if you guys have anything that you want to add to our review afterwards, you can totally do that.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, my review is going to have the word radical somewhere inside of it.
Mm-hmm. Hey. Oh, I can't wait. It's so good. So, moving on to our favorite thing for this week, where we discuss something that we really like and just want to share it with you because we enjoy it. Would you like
Mhm.
to go first, Bree?
Sure, because mine's pretty lame. So this week has actually been not the greatest for me, and I'll talk more about that in weekly wisdom. So my favorite thing though, it's actually not just from this week, but it's been probably a month. So my cat Fenway is a menace, like a super menace. Like you leave her alone for like 5 minutes, and she's pulling books off the shelf. She actually managed to jump to the top shelf of our bookshelf and pull stuffed animals down, and she's a nuisance. But because of this, we have gone out and bought automatic cat toys. So these are toys that are electronic, and so they will kind of, you don't have to be around and they'll keep her entertained. So we have a little thing that has like a feather and it spins around and she has to go and chase it.
Fun.
And then we also have like a laser, almost like a laser pointer, but it's on a timer. So it does like 15 minutes of random laser and then it shuts off for about an hour, hour and a
Whoa.
half, and then it turns on again. And it's definitely kept her out of trouble, even though it's not entirely keeping, because that like hour and a half that the laser isn't on, she definitely still gets up to trouble. But uh, let's just say that we have manually turned that thing on just to make sure that she is occupied.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Hey.
But if you do have a cat that has way too much energy and is just taking it out on your belongings, I highly recommend getting automatic cat toys.
Aw. Well, that's good to know, actually. My cats, because they're so close in age,
Hmm.
they entertain themselves, which is really good.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that that lasts a
Yeah.
while.
Unfortunately, there's a 17-year difference between my two cats, and they don't want to hang out with each other.
No, right? Yeah, that makes sense. I wouldn't want to hang out with like a little kid if I was super old either.
Nope, she definitely does not.
My favorite thing for this week is actually a person, but she has a company, and her name is Lindsay Bryn, and she has a company called Moms into Fitness, and I've been using her products since my kids were born. So when Jack was born, I had a rough delivery. I had gained tons of water weight and it was really bad. It was super painful. It was awful. When I found out I was pregnant with Nathan 6 months later, I decided to work out during that pregnancy. So my first one, I'd sat in an office and it was really awful. Like my feet would swell out of my shoes. It was terrible. So I found this Moms into Fitness thing and they had a whole safe pregnancy workout. And I did it during Nathan's pregnancy and my labor and my birth with him was amazingly different. I could feel which muscles were contracting and I could control it and I could focus on where the pain was instead of it just being all over the place. And I was super fit afterwards because I did this during the whole thing. I looked entirely different during my pregnancy. And then she also does stuff for afterwards too. So I've been using her workouts for over a decade. and I really, really enjoy them. And so I thought if anyone is interested in something like that, that you might want to look her up. She right now is doing free workouts for quarantine, so you can do workouts all week that are free. She has a subscription now. I used to buy her DVDs, but she doesn't have them anymore because nobody has DVDs anymore. But yeah, like nobody's paying me to say this stuff, but I still use her workouts. I still do it, and they're still super effective. And I really like her. She's really like happy. But funny thing is, like I still have a DVD from her from a long time ago called like Boot Camp 2 or something like that. And halfway through, like she does the cardio and like talks and is cheerful, but you can see she's getting tired. So she's doing jumping jacks and she like loses count, but she's still like, it's okay, like it happens to everyone. You just keep going and it's fine. So I'm like, oh, you're actually a real person. And she's on Instagram and she has like 3 kids that she had. It was difficult having kids for her. It's like it's really, she's a really awesome person, and she provides nutritional information as well for free. So yeah, I just wanted to mention her because she's actually been a part of my life for like 10 years. Yeah, that's the workouts. When I'm not running, I do her workouts in between that, and I really enjoy them.
Nice. Obviously, they still work for people who don't have babies?
Yeah, like they're just great workouts. The thing I like about them is that the one I'm doing now is like an 8-week program, and when you start off, it's not so overwhelmingly hard that you're like, can't do it. Have you ever done those? So,
Yeah.
and she doesn't do insane choreography with her workouts either. So you can pick, like some of them are just like weights, and then some of them are also weights and cardio. And the cardio is really easy. So you'll do like simple 3 moves, like a punch and a knee and a step, right? Instead of like, have you ever done those insane like cardio craziness with all the choreography built in there? It's just nuts. I can't do it. As soon as that stuff starts, I'm like, I'm gonna fall over my own feet. Like I can't do it.
I guess I've done Zumba. That's about it.
Yeah, I didn't like Zumba. It's really funny because the one DVD that I have, that's like I follow her with streaming too, but the DVD I really like, and it is pretty old, but you can tell it's Taibo.
Oh, Taibo.
Remember when everyone was into Taibo? So there's a lot of like punching and like kicking and stuff like that, which cracks me up. But it's a super good workout. And when I've done it, I'm never like, oh my God, I'm gonna barf. Do you know what I mean? I never feel like that. So it makes me feel like it's okay and I can do it again. And she gives you like tips while you're doing it. But yeah, you don't have to have had a kid. Even though it's called Moms into Fitness, it's basically like workouts for women. But she puts in like helpful things for people who do have kids. Like she makes them quick. So each segment is like 10 minutes and you can do them anytime during the day. Because she's like, and then you can get back to being mom. You know what I mean? But like anybody could do them, right? And some of them like you can have your abs split when you have babies, and sometimes it stays split instead of going back together. So she has safe exercises for that too. Yeah, so that's my favorite thing. Sorry if I rambled on a little bit.
And I'm sure that all that stuff will be on the website.
I will. I'll totally put her website on there. All right, so moving on. Weekly wisdom time, where we impart some of our wisdom that we've learned onto you. You can do with it what you will. Do you want me to go first?
Sure.
Yeah, you sure? Okay. Mine today is I guess Bree and I have started this thing we've decided to call Personal Accountability Club. So every week we're going to just have a short meeting and we're going to talk about a personal project that we're doing and try to finish it. Like tell what our goals are going to be for it for the next week, and then try to get that done for that week. That way, it's not just for you and nobody cares. Like there's somebody waiting and going to say to you, did you do that? Why didn't you do it? Did something really important come up? Was it that important? Yeah, so it's helpful, I think, to give yourself the motivation that you need to get a project started or finished, right? Yeah, it helps me anyway. Even today, I was like, "Oh no, I haven't done enough of my stuff. I have to do it. Otherwise, I have to say, shamefully, I didn't do it, and there wasn't a good reason." Right?
I was going to say I finished one check mark, which was finish Tailchaser song.
Exactly, and you did do it. That's right. That's the whole point, right? Um, so if you're having trouble finding the motivation to do something personal, like there's nobody's paying you to do it, but you know it's something that you should do for your own sake. Find a friend that also has that issue and make a personal accountability club or pack.
Oh, nice.
Acronym.
My weekly wisdom relates to what happened to me on Saturday.
Oh,
And I just have to tell everybody, especially those of you who happen to live in Alberta, get hail insurance.
mm-hmm.
So
Oh,
on Saturday, a huge storm hit the north side of Calgary, and my house got completely wrecked in the hailstorm. So luckily, we were not home when it happened. So I didn't have a nervous breakdown during the storm. My cats are fine. Our car managed, because we weren't home, our car managed to avoid what happened to everybody else's car, which is, dents and glass shattering and all that stuff. So all in all, we actually came out pretty okay. But yeah, our house is not in good shape. We have tons of missing siding. It looks like somebody came in and just shot up our house.
it does. Bree sent me a
Yeah,
picture. It looks like it's like chewed up. Her siding is
yeah,
gone. It's nuts.
yeah. It's so coming home to that was like, oh, it just killed me. But what's nice is we have hail insurance, so we are completely covered. Everything is going to get fixed. So yay! But apparently, in this process, when we were talking to our insurance agent, they were telling us about how many people who got caught in the storm did not have hail insurance, and so they're going to have to.
No.
Yeah, they're going to have to eat that cost of repairing on their own, because a lot of insurance companies is not built in, especially in areas where hail is frequent, because they know that they're going to have to pay through the nose, like they are going to have to now because of the storm. So usually it's an add-on. So if you don't specifically ask for hail insurance, it's not going to be included.
Oh my God, now I have to check. I'm gonna make sure that we have it too.
Yes. Yeah. So it obviously the cost of your insurance is going to go up, but it is going to potentially save you a big headache, because like this is, I think, since living here, this is the third hailstorm that I know that has caused massive damage. One I know is north of Calgary, so it was in kind of like the Airdrie area, like Crossfield area. And then I know 2 years ago there was one that was in the city. I can't remember where it was. I think it was still in the north, but I think it was more east of us. And then now this time it actually hit us. So you
Yeah.
never know. And
No.
it's 2020, guys. It's 2020. Shit is going to happen.
That's right.
Yeah.
Get all the insurance. Get
Yeah,
all the insurance.
exactly. Mother
Clown attack
Nature,
insurance.
exactly. Mother Nature is trying to rid the planet of humanity, so just make sure you are insured.
Right? Oh my God.
Yeah,
Alien insurance. Alien attack insurance.
yeah, exactly. Is that considered an act of God, is when the aliens come and blow up your house?
All creatures. All creatures. It's time for positive spin, where we take
Mm.
something that could possibly be mildly annoying and we try to look at the good points of it because that's just what we do. It makes us feel better in life, right? So today we're going to talk about movie adaptations.
Yeah, I think this is really good because we are flipping gears from the book club to a movie club, and I feel like that's what all of Hollywood is doing.
Hmm.
Is they're making
Yeah.
everything that is a book into a movie, and that can sometimes and most times end up being pretty awful.
Yeah, I just watched Artemis Fowl with my
Oh,
kids. Yeah, it was
rough.
it was so bad. I couldn't believe it. Even the kids, even my kids who were like 9 and 11 were like, that movie wasn't that good. And they loved the books, loved them. And I was like,
Hmm.
no, it wasn't very good. It was felt rushed. It felt like whoever made it didn't actually read the books. You know what
Kenneth
I
Branagh.
mean? So bad. I
Yeah.
did not enjoy it. Just had to be like, yep, that's what's going to happen to a lot of your favorite books.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and talking about Artemis Fowl, like we haven't watched it yet, but both Brendan and I are huge fans of the books. And when they first said that they were going to do it, we were just like, oh man, that's pretty cool. But Disney doesn't have a very good track record with their live action stuff. Let's be real. It's most of their live action stuff is pretty trash. And so we
Mm.
were kind of worried about it, and then we're like, yeah, yeah, but maybe because it's kind of like nobody really it. I guess there's no risk to doing Artemis Fowl because not a lot. It's not like Harry Potter where everybody knows what it is. So we're like, well, maybe they'll do okay. But then we should have remembered Percy Jackson because those movies are garbage,
Yeah.
100% pure garbage. And I love Rick Riordan and I love that book series.
Mm-hmm.
So when they first put out, I think the first trailer for Artemis Fowl came out, and I was like, oh my god, they've like completely changed everything from the
Yeah.
book, and I'm like, ooh, this is not gonna be good. I'm like, well, no, I don't know. We'll like we'll see. And then more and more kept coming out of it. And I actually read an interview with Kenneth Branagh, and they were just like, so why did you change everything in the book? And it's basically him just talking in circles about nothing. So he never really answers the question. Yeah.
Really?
The biggest thing is he's like, well, you can tell a redemption story in a book, but you can't really do that in like an hour and a half or 2 hours. So we just got rid of the fact that he's a villain and just made him a good guy right off the bat. And they're like, yeah, but what about the stuff with his father? Because the stuff with the father is like very crucial for the second book. So are you don't expect sequels? And he's like, that's not my problem. I'm just like,
Oh
what?
my God.
What are you talking about right now? So
Yeah,
yes.
it was not good. I did not enjoy it at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, it's gotten just hammered in reviews, which I guess it's if you think about it, Disney probably dodged a huge bullet by putting it on Disney Plus instead of waiting to put it out in theaters because that would have bombed in theaters.
Yeah, it looks it's like it was meant to go on Disney Plus. It doesn't
Yeah.
look like it was meant to go to theaters in the first place. You know, it's very bad. I think it would make a really good show, you know, like
Mm,
to start off and have that like build all that stuff in and like
yeah.
not have have the history show like slowly show up and stuff like that. I think that would be really good. Yeah, it was I'm actually kind of tired of people wrecking all of those kind of books. The
Yeah.
Golden Compass,
Yeah.
terrible. That was
Yeah.
like I was so disappointed in that movie.
Yeah. Do not get me started on the Hunger Games series because the that frustrated me to no
Yeah,
end. So.
it's true. I would say that's a million times better than Artemis Fowl, though.
Oh,
I would
well,
say.
yeah. Yeah. There was at least budget and
Yeah,
good actors
yeah.
in
There was good
Hunger Games.
actors. I just
Yeah.
don't think the story was very good. It just made no sense at
Their
all.
first problem was putting Josh Gad in that movie. That was my first red flag.
Is that the Olaf guy?
Yeah,
Oh, you really hate that guy,
I
eh?
really dislike him. Yes. I don't think he is funny in the least.
That's really funny. The kids didn't even know. I was like, that guy's Olaf. And they were like, no, he's not. I'm like, yeah, he's totally Olaf. That's the guy
Yeah.
who's Olaf.
I will do an asterisk on that. The only role that I actually kind of liked him in was LeFou in the live action Beauty and the Beast, but really if you think about that entire Beauty and the Beast movie, the bar was really low. Cuz that
I think,
movie is not
yeah,
good.
that's true. He was like the part he played in that movie was all right, I guess,
Yeah.
eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was just like,
Um,
that's all right.
I'm trying to think of other adaptations that I didn't like. And almost all of them. The Stand. You haven't read The Stand by
I haven't
Stephen
read The
King?
Stand. Yeah.
Yeah, did you see the made it was made for TV. So it's not a
No.
movie adaptation, but it's really long. Like it's longer
Yeah.
than a movie. That one wasn't too bad. I think that one was all right. Stephen King stuff is kind of hard to make into a
Yeah.
movie,
Yeah.
except The Green Mile. That
Oh,
one was
so
done
good. So good.
so
Well,
well.
Stand by Me, classic.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's two that were really good. Because
Yeah.
usually they're tricky, but those were really good books that were done. But I think it's because they have like a Stand By Me doesn't have a scary element to it though, like an
Not
unnatural
really. It's
element.
more it's a coming of age story.
Yeah, right. And then the Green Mile, it has like that supernatural sort of thing,
Yeah,
but it's not as like outlandishly crazy as he
yeah,
normally has,
yeah,
like a killer clown alien spider.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing.
yeah. But I have to say the
Um,
original Pet Cemetery is fantastic. The remake, trash.
mhm.
You will hear me say the word trash a lot when I talk about movies.
Ooh, The Shining.
Oh,
I
Shining is
liked,
brilliant,
yes,
brilliant.
The Shining
Yeah.
book and movie. I liked
Hmm.
both very
Hmm.
much in different ways for different reasons, but I
Yeah,
thought they were both really good.
yeah. And I will die on this altar. I love the made for TV movie for It. Because it's actually one of my favorite Stephen King novels.
From the
You know.
80s? That
Yeah.
one from the
Yeah.
80s with the
I
guy from the
absolutely.
Vulcans in it?
Yeah, but the thing is Tim Curry is the just brilliant as Pennywise, and you cannot take that performance. Like Bill Skarsgård tried, and I thought in the first movie with the new adaptation, I think that wasn't a bad movie. Like I actually quite liked it part one, but then it part two was just I don't know. Like
Was it
they left
trash?
they left it in the sewer. It definitely was
They
trash.
left it in the sewer. I haven't watched those because they look too scary.
The second one is 0% scary. I have friends who came with me to watch it and who are absolutely like petrified of scary movies. And they were just like, that movie was ridiculous. Like it felt more like a comedy than it did a horror movie. I'm like, yep, I agree with you.
I'm gonna say though, like in the book, there's some stuff, like some disturbing stuff that
Oh
happens in
yeah.
that book
Oh
that
yeah.
if it was made into a movie, I would not watch it. I'd be
No.
like, no, I'm not watching a bunch of 11-year-olds have sex with each other so they can get
No.
out of the sewers. No
No.
thanks. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
like the bad bully kid. I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
How he poisons Henry's dog, Chip.
Mm,
Do you remember
yeah.
that? Like slowly feeds him so that he recognizes him and is friendly with him and then poisons him.
Yeah.
Oh my god, even just thinking about that. And then the weirdo kid who had dead things in a fridge in the dump.
Oh yeah. I forgot
Do you
about that.
remember that? Oh,
Yeah.
he was like messed up in his head.
Yeah.
No thanks.
Yeah.
No, like if that was done exact, like sometimes I'm like,
No.
why did they cut that out of the
Yeah.
movie? It lost a lot of stuff. I'm like, cut those out, cut them
Yeah.
out. That'll make a
Well,
better movie.
yeah, and I actually think that this brings me to my spin, to my positive spin, and some of there because there are actually some really good movie adaptations that almost take like when it's in the right hand, when it's in the right screenwriter's hand and director's hand, they almost know how to edit
Mhm.
properly. So if especially if the book is maybe dated, maybe has some stuff in it that is definitely not appropriate for you know average audience members, they have the ability to kind of take the time and edit that stuff out, and then really just kind of showcase almost like the best things about the story.
Mhm.
So they might take a little bit of liberty in the story, but they're still staying true to the meaning and the purpose of the story, but maybe just again editing out things that may not be appropriate or maybe ran too long, etc. So
Lord of
that's
the
one thing.
Rings.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, Two Towers, no, yeah, Two Towers, I hated that movie so much that never saw the last one. I never
Oh,
saw Return of the
what?
King. Yeah,
Oh, you should watch Return of the King. It's really good.
yeah.
You should
Well,
watch it.
and this is almost a words of wisdom, is that if you know a movie adaptation is coming out, do not read the book just before it. And that
No.
was my problem. So I read the Lord of the Rings trilogy just right after the first movie came out, and then it took me forever to read because I'm a very slow reader, unlike Erin. And basically, I finished reading it just before Two Towers came out. And then I was like, wait a minute, this is wrong. That's wrong. Why are they going here? That doesn't make any sense. I was like, this movie sucks.
I think it would have been a very like you were just saying, I think if they had kept it original, I don't know if that would have made a good movie though.
Yeah.
Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? There
Oh,
was
for
some weird
sure.
stuff in
Yeah.
it. And it
But
kind
even
of went
just,
all over the
yeah.
place and I don't know.
But there are things that I think Peter Jackson takes liberties with that are unnecessary.
Like
Um,
love stories?
Yes, exactly. I don't care. Well, and it's funny because I think you see that in when he adapts The Hobbit into a trilogy, which doesn't need to be a trilogy, and there's a lot of really terrible stuff in those movies.
That one was a
Uh,
little draggy, it's
it
true.
was it was yeah. No, I think I liked some of the second movie and maybe the cold open of the third one when they conclude the entire book in 10 minutes. But yeah, most of that it just felt like filler and it wasn't very good. So
No, it's true.
yeah.
I agree. I really love the first Lord of the Rings,
Hmm.
the Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah.
I really love that one though.
Yeah.
I think that's so good. And I think like there's a character in the book, Tom something.
Tom
What's his
Bombadil,
name?
who
Yeah,
I love in the books. Fight me. I love Tom Bombadil. My
I
husband gets mad at
agree.
me
He's
all the time.
great. He's great to read about.
Yeah.
He's like a fun character, but did he need to be in the movie? Probably not. Does he add anything to the story? Not really.
Yeah, I know.
So
I
it
get it.
wasn't.
I get it.
But
That would have impacted the second book though, not the first book.
sometimes I guess and they're limited to often. That's why there's so many crappy movies is because
Mhm.
they're limited by budget, right? And
Mhm.
time. It can't
Yeah.
be longer than this. So then what do, right? You have
Yeah.
to edit it to fit. And sometimes it just doesn't work.
Yeah. I also have to say that I actually sometimes I appreciate movie adaptations because they get me interested in the book series. So
Mhm.
Lord of the Rings was actually a really good example. So my brother was a big Tolkien fan, but I never even it was never on my radar because I hated reading when I was growing up, especially high fantasy books because I just felt them long-winded. And now I'm like I love high fantasy books, which is funny.
So
Um
funny.
I
Oh
know.
my god.
I'm so different. Like I live two different lives. I'm pretty sure I'm two different people. But so when actually worked in a movie theater when Lord of the Rings came out, and I loved Fellowship of the Ring so much that it made me want to sit down and actually read The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, which I love the book series. It is also long-winded, but it's still a great story. But the same thing was for Harry Potter. So I knew of Harry Potter, but it was never really in my purview because at that time when it came out I was already in my 20s, so I think I was 21 when it came out. And so it wasn't something that I would have interacted with because that's generally a children's series. So just wasn't something that was in my life.
Mhm.
Being somebody's be like, oh my god, you should read Harry Potter, it's amazing. So the movie came out and I absolutely refused to watch it, but that was not because I didn't like the book or anything like that. It's because of what I had to go through to pre-sell those tickets for Harry Potter. I was like, it was actually a little bit traumatizing. So I worked in a theater that didn't even have like a proper ticketing system. It was literally like receipt printout tickets.
Oh
So and
no.
we had a computer that was still a green screen. Like everything in this theater was like super old and dated. So we didn't have any way to pre-sell tickets, but obviously Harry Potter was a really big release and our manager knew that we needed to pre-sell these tickets because it was going to make us some money. So he made me we printed out and hand cut and hand punched and tore and everything these pre-sale Harry Potter tickets, and I was the only one allowed to sell them
Oh my
because he
god.
because he didn't trust anybody else that worked there to do it because I was the one who like created the system and did whatever. So he's like, you have to be in the box office all the time and you are the only person who can sell these tickets. If you're not in the box office, we can't sell these tickets. So I had to like deal with these like hundreds of tickets for all the showings for the first week and had to pre-sell them and like do the tickets and then punch it into the system as with the receipts, and I had to collect the receipts. So I was just like, this movie, I'm never watching this movie. I'm like, this movie is like, I hated it on principle because of the pain in the ass that it was to sell these tickets. And then during our breaks, we would always go in and watch like snippets of movies. And I was just like I think I can't even remember what it was, but the other movies in the theater were like I'd either already watched it all or they weren't very good. So I was like, fine, I'll like kind of go in and um oh no, that's actually a lie. Sorry. No, that's what I did for Lord of the Rings. For Harry Potter, we actually got a preview screening. So the night before it was supposed to be released, um our manager was like, yeah, everybody can invite one person and you can come together and we can watch Harry Potter before everybody else does. And so I was like, oh man, I don't want to watch this movie. And then I watched it and I'm like, this movie's fantastic. And I read and I like became addicted to the books, and I just like flew through the books. And I think at that time book 4 was just about released or something like that. um and so I was just like, man, I'm like, I became like a Harry Potter fan after watching the movie. So
You're right. That's true.
yeah.
Like if you haven't read the books, the movie can get you interested.
Yeah.
It happened with my kids. We went and saw The City of Ember.
Hmm.
Oh, that's another one where that
Yeah.
movie
Yeah.
was the worst. It
But
was
that book is
so
great.
bad. Yeah, and the book is so good, right? So
Mhm.
because the kids had watched the movie, they were like, okay, well, I'll try reading the book. And because they already had a sort of image in their mind of it, they didn't have to recreate the whole thing themselves.
Mhm.
It helped them to read it, and then they loved it, right? I don't think they would have read it otherwise, even
Yeah.
though that movie was so stinky. Those huge
Uh,
moles, like why? Why do
yeah,
that?
I don't know. I don't know.
So
Yeah.
extra.
Yeah, because I think I read City of Ember before the movie came out. I think I read it because the movie was coming out. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna totally read what this is. And I was like, this book is pretty cool. And then I was like, oh, this movie is not cool.
Oh, it's so bad. It's so bad. Or
Yeah.
the one I was probably the most disappointed about was Mortal Engines. I
Mm.
read that book and I read it. It was funny because my friend Rachel, who has been on this podcast, lent me this book and I read it. And I was like, oh my God, this is, except for the last chapter in that book is kind of weird. I found like the imagery like that I could think of while reading it, imagining cities that could move and that would like eat each other and use each other's resources and stuff like that. Like just amazing trying to like think of this world, you know? So then I was like, oh my God, there's a movie coming out about it after I was done reading it. And I was like, that's great. I just finished the book. I can't wait to actually see it on the screen, like visualize, like see the cities moving and everything. But then they ruined it. They ruined the story. There's like a 10-minute long scene where they're running through it and it's like lava and fire or something like that. I'm like, what is this? Who cares about this? It was just, it ruined it for me so bad. I was so angry about it. The book is fantastic if you guys ever want to read it. It's so good.
Nice. Is it just one book?
No, there's a bunch of books.
Oh, okay.
I didn't really like the rest of them. It started to feel, remember we had that discussion about books that don't end?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it started to feel like that. John's finished all of them. I actually got through like the next two, and there's I think two more. I can't remember, but I was like, I can't do it anymore. Like, there's no character growth in it. I feel like he's just doing it just cause, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah, so I stopped. But the first one is amazing all by itself.
Nice. I think my other positive spin for adaptions is that in the grand scheme, if we didn't have movie adaptions, nerd culture wouldn't be as like be actual part of pop culture. So if you think
Mhm.
about, pre Iron Man basically, like yeah, you had Batman movies and stuff, but they weren't necessarily as big as, when the Marvel movies started coming out. I would say Dark Knight is definitely almost where that also kind of came to be. But if it wasn't for the Lord of the Rings and the Harry Potters and the comic book movies, and these adaptions from basically book to screen, you wouldn't have the average person wearing superhero shirts
Mhm.
and knowing who these characters are and bringing nerd culture into the spotlight and making it kind of okay to be a fan.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's true. You're
I
right.
don't have I don't have to shamefully be like, "I'm a big She-Hulk fan." Now people are like, "Oh man, that's gonna be a show. You have to tell me about her."
Mhm. I know. Yeah, you're right. That's true. It's like taking something that everyone enjoyed, or like not everyone actually, just a few people enjoyed, and then giving it to everyone else in a way that they
Mhm.
can enjoy it, because not everyone likes to
Exactly.
read comic books and not
Exactly.
everybody likes to read, actually,
Yeah.
to be honest. But I don't know a lot of people who are like, no, I don't watch movies. You know
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah, so that actually, and now we have the ability to make these ideas look fantastic on screen too,
Exactly.
which
Yeah.
really helps.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's even crazy because like as we have stated on many of the podcasts, like I'm a big Disney fan, and the idea that last summer I gotta be in a land that's entirely dedicated to Star Wars.
Mhm.
And, I gotta feel like I was on the Millennium Falcon and Chewie was rolling around and Rey was rolling around. And I was just like, what kind of a world do I live in right now? Like, if you think about growing up, um, you would never even imagine that this stuff would be mainstream and be consumed by the average person. And so, if it wasn't for these adaptions making it popular and bringing it into the spotlight of pop culture, you definitely wouldn't have all of these really great things. Like, Marvel Campus at Disneyland is also supposed to be opening, and I'm just like, I can like go and like pretend to hang out with Peter Parker. Like that's super awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty great, hey? It's
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
I'm surprised you haven't mentioned Neverending Story.
Oh, I love the Neverending Story. Yeah. Well, it's hard because it's like Neverending Story, Princess Bride.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think of other ones that I really love, but yeah.
Yeah,
I
when I'm not gonna lie, Neverending Story is one of those ones where I saw the movie first as a
Mhm.
kid. I
Yeah.
loved the movie. I was like, "This is so great." Grew up not knowing there was a book. Then I found out there was a book, I think from you, or I found it in a thrift store or something. I
Mm,
can't remember. But I read it and I was like, half of this book is good."
yeah, yeah. Well, and it's interesting because obviously in the films there's Neverending Story 1 and 2, and then there's the other ones that we don't talk about. But the book is actually both of those stories, and you know that one of them is much better than the other one.
Oh my goodness. I read the book and I was like, "Yeah, this is pretty good." There is some weird stuff in it, like, that I was like, "What?" But up until about halfway when the movie ends,
Mhm.
after that, I'm like, "What is the rest of this? It's so
Yeah,
unnecessary. Like,
yeah,
why?" And I was like, "Am I biased because I've loved the movie for so long?"
yeah.
I'm like, "No, I really feel like the guy's character turns into this big loser. Do you know
He
what he's like?
does. Yeah,
I can do
yeah,
anything I want." And
yeah.
I don't know. I'm like, "No, no, I was good with it ending where, I don't need to
Yeah,
know any more of this," which is so funny because lots of times you read a book to know more about what happens after you've watched a movie. You're like, "Oh, the movie's done, but I loved it. But there's a
yeah,
book," like Game of Thrones kind of thing. I can read the rest. But no, I was like, I wish I hadn't read the rest.
yeah, yeah.
That one.
Yeah, but it's interesting because you're right. It's like Bastian, at the end of the first movie or the first half of the book, he's kind of grown to become the savior of this world, and he's like, he has this newfound confidence, and it's that again that coming of age story through fantasy. And then just like the second movie, the second half of the book is him becoming jealous and petty, and you're just like, hold on a second, you just named the childlike emperor. Why are you now an asshole?
Yeah, he totally is one. And you're like, "What?" Like, I don't wanna know the end, like, the rest of what I don't wanna know what happens later after the
Yeah,
hero does this thing. I
yeah.
don't wanna know that he becomes a drug addict or does something else,
Yeah,
like, just
yeah.
cut it off. I'm good.
Movie adaptation that I actually think is almost better than the book is Fight Club.
Oh, Fight Club, I
Yeah,
agree. Fight
I
Club is
could
so good.
yeah, because 'cause I'm actually a big
Mhm.
fan of Chuck Palahniuk's books, but I watched the movie first, and then I started reading Chuck's books and I read Fight Club, and I was like, it's actually almost word for word, identical, which I appreciate, but some of the stuff that they did kind of tweak and edit, I think was for the better, so it made the story a little bit more cohesive.
Mhm.
And the idea that again, if you think about how visually they did the Tyler Durden stuff in that book is so brilliant in the movie,
Yeah.
because I think without that visual, you kind of lose a little bit of the idea of that like character in your head thing. So the
Mhm.
adaptation to the screen, I think, just elevates what the story actually was. So that's one where I would be like, the movie is better than the book.
I agree. I'm totally with you on that. Yeah, absolutely. I think the movie is amazing.
Yeah,
Oh, even like, the end where the buildings collapse
yeah,
and the pixies sing, that scene is like incredible. You
yeah.
can't get that from a book,
Nope.
right?
No, no, I think it's great. And even just like the description of like Bob and stuff and seeing Meatloaf on the screen and you're just like, "Yep. Yep, that's Bob."
Yeah. That's totally true.
Yeah.
You're right. Another one I've mentioned on here before that I really like is Rosemary's Baby.
Mm.
because I think I might have said this before on here, but the director didn't know that he didn't have to do it word for word from the book.
Oh.
So he actually made the movie exactly like the book. Even things that didn't make sense and probably didn't need to be in there, but
Yeah.
because it's this like weird movie that you feel a little off during the whole thing anyway. Like there's a dream sequence when the main character is drugged and then she has sex with her husband who is possessed by Satan, and that's where the whole baby thing comes. But before, she's only partially drugged because she didn't eat the whole dessert that had the drug in it. She only ate half of it. So she's dreaming. And in the book, she has a dream where she's on a ship, like a yacht, and she's at a party, and then all of a sudden she's naked. Ah, naked. But and then she's talking to some like people, and in the book it describes who they are, but in the movie you have no idea who these people in the dream are. She's just like literally on a yacht talking to people, but it looks very dream-like, it's like just like a dream would be, and it totally gives you that weird off feeling about it. Like something's not right. Why is this happening? Who are they? Right? You don't know. So it works really well. And that when I watch, well, I've read the book, right? And then when I watch the movie, I'm like, that's amazing. That's amazing. I've never actually seen an adaptation so well done from something so exact and then also okay. Like it made it work.
Yeah.
It's so good. Gives you that same weird, creepy feeling, like because like Rosemary, you're like, are her neighbors just being nice? Is it her? Does she just not know what's going on? Right.
Yeah.
And then as you read, you're like, oh my God, what's happening? She's pregnant with Satan's baby. Right.
Yeah. I loved Rosemary's Baby. It's been so long since I've seen that movie.
Oh, we're gonna have to do that for winter. That's my pick for next time. I want to do
good.
Rosemary's Baby
Heck yes.
because it's so good.
And you were the one who were like, no scary movies.
But it's not scary. Like
No.
I just don't like gross scary.
Oh no.
Right? Rosemary's Baby is like disturbing in a way, scary, but not too much. And also I love the 60s decor in it. Oh my God, that just like distracts me so much from the scary bits.
Did we spin that well enough?
I think we did. It was
right.
fun.
So this ends Imaginary Friends, the podcast for this week. Not forever, just for this week. Don't worry, we'll be back.
That was a little word there.
I don't know if everybody else is happy that we'll be back, but I'm definitely happy that we're going to be back next week.
Me too.
But again, thank you for listening. And of course, you can check out our website at imaginaryfriends.ca and our Instagram at imaginaryfriends.ca. And of course, you can subscribe to our podcast on Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, and Google Play.
And you can email us at info@imaginaryfriends.ca.
And why we don't have this as a canned ending? It's because we have too much fun doing it.
It's true. Who wants a canned ending? Blah.
Ready, Bree?
Nope.
Erin and Bree, creative friends set loose and free, carving out a place the way they want it to be, called imaginary friends. Do you like camping or D&D? How about making or Disney? If that sounds good, the place you wanna be is imaginary friends. Two friends who are very different and have very different views, but together we cover all the bases and give you so much more to choose. So stop on by and take a look and see, and come hang out with Erin and Bree. You won't be bored, we can guarantee, at Imaginary Friends.
That was the best.